Welcome back to another Cancun drawing board. Today we're going to be doing the Phoenix Suns, and I think they have the potential to have the most interesting offseason out of any team, or the most boring. We'll see. I think Lauren has some Kevin Durant trades. Matt Ishbia did say they're not going to break up the starting five, which he may just be talking out of his butt, but I think he'll figure out that it's going to be really hard to build a
I
team.
mean,
But
unless he has really good, like either other, I don't know what he would be playing. Maybe he's got some
I
really
don't.
idea for the
Yeah.
draft or something. Who knows?
I'm going to start assuming that they don't do that, that they're just going to keep all their guys. And I'm going to list out some free agents or some draft prospects they could go get. And these are guys that because they're going to have to get guys on minimums. So you're just not going to get great talent, you know. Or you're going to be looking guys that are like on prove it deals type stuff. Um, so the first guy, I think Royce O'Neal. It's really important that they bring him back. Um, he was pretty good for them down the stretch. He's just a 3-and-D wing, one of the few that they have. If they could get Chris Paul back, he's a true point guard. He's close to LA. I think he doesn't want to go out of, that time zone necessarily. I think he wants to be close to his family. And obviously he has, ties there. Pat Bev is, I think, my favorite target just because he brings kind of everything that they don't have, which is just like some passion for the game,
This is
um,
true.
and some defense. I think Buddy Hield, uh, he had a really, really rough playoffs. I mean, he's
Well,
you know he's getting did not play coaching decisions at the moment.
yeah.
So he may be like a candidate for a prove it deal. Dennis Smith Jr. is another guy. He was really good for Brooklyn. I don't know how interested he'll be in taking a minimum. I think a team will offer him more than that, especially Brooklyn. Um, And then some other guys just rattled them off quickly. Bismack Biyombo, just for some big depth. Russell Westbrook, if he opts out, it's similar to Pat Bev, just a guy to bring some passion. Andre Drummond, again, for big depth. I mean, he may even start over Nurkic. And then Gordon Hayward, uh, for some wing depth.
I think my favorite draft prospect for them is Coleman Hawkins from Illinois.
Okay,
I
yeah.
think he'd be really nice for them to pick up in the draft if they can. He kind of has some passion to point forward. I feel like he's a very like versatile kind of player. Doesn't need the ball too much. He just kind of wants to be on the court doing little things, bringing passion to the game. So I think that would be a really good draft pick if they can get him.
And I think a guy like him that could potentially play some small ball five is important because
Hmm.
they don't have a guy like that. And
True.
I like when they try to play small ball, it was Kevin Durant at the five, and they would it just didn't work, especially against Minnesota. And Nurkic, you're not a guy. He's not a guy that can work in every single matchup. So I think bringing in a guy that could play some small ball five would be valuable. But unless anyone else has like any solutions for them, if I think we should just move on to let's blow this thing up.
Yeah, that's
Um,
that's the number one place to start is don't run it back.
yeah.
It's I'm not that often that right in my takes and my preseason predictions, which we'll go over in a future episode about all the ones we
Hmm.
did wrong and right. But this is one of the ones that I was right about. This three experiment in the realistic world we're in doesn't work. In the realistic bounds of their contracts and the cap space, they're a team that was what $50 million or 30 sorry $35 million over the tax, not over the cap, over the tax, and got swept in the first round healthy.
Yeah.
One of my biggest concerns was their health. They were healthy. It doesn't work, guys. Like you can't have three guys that each have their fair amount of limits on the court or fair amount of things that they're not great at on the court, their weaknesses on the court, and have them all play together with all having almost the exact same strength. It doesn't make a lot of sense because there's one
Yeah.
basketball. Anyway, it's a failure. I told you so. One a few times. So what
Yeah.
you gotta do here is trade Kevin Durant. He's making $51 million next year. 51 million. He's That's a lot of money. Get that off
Okay.
your roster. I don't if you if what's their new owner's name? Ishba.
Ishbia.
If he's happy to keep going over the tax, then that's fine too. We can work with that. We can sign some guys like Deacon said, but trade Kevin Durant off the team to get that out of the way. The three doesn't work. You can't trade Beal because of the no trade clause, and he's making 50 million too. You don't really want to trade Booker. I think it's an option. I don't think it'll happen. I don't really know if you want to do that, to be honest. So potential trade destinations for Durant. One of the first ones we have a episode on the Pelicans since they've gotten eliminated. We did not mention this one there, so you're in for a treat. Kevin Durant to the Pelicans. For a package of Brandon Ingram, Dyson Daniels, and three first round picks. I think this package can look a little different. I don't think it has to look this way. I think what it will give the Suns is more freedom at cap space. Again, not a lot because most of their guys do still have another year on their contract. They only have very few minimum guys that are going to be free agents this year. So even the guys that they can sign, to be Dean's point, are going to have to be low pay. And it gives you Dyson Daniels for a 6'8" point guard who can also play versatile defense. It gives him a playmaker. He can shoot, finish inside, and it gives you Brandon Ingram, which is kind of a Kevin Durant 2.0. He's more Kevin Durant, like in my opinion, than Jason Tatum, who's been compared. But he's had an offseason. I don't know if it'll work out well, but it's certainly worth the shot. And if not, well, they got Dyson Daniels as a young guy, and they get three first round picks. Um, and they're just gonna have to take it from there. I think that's a
I,
good start for the Pelicans.
I
For
agree. I
the
do,
tour.
yeah, I do like the idea. I mean, Brandon Ingram's just basically Walmart Kevin Durant. But also just getting some youth in
Great
Dyson
value.
Daniels. Yeah, exactly. Getting some youth in Dyson Daniels, I think, would be important. As well as getting. I think if I'm the Suns, I would demand Larry Nance be in this trade as well. Just also for that big depth, if you want to go small.
Yeah,
Be
I like that
Um,
nice.
actually.
I
and
like
I,
Larry Nance.
yeah, and I'm interested. I mean, he played pretty well against the Thunder, as well. He was one of their bright spots, in my opinion, at least just watching it. I think another question you have to ask if you're the Suns, are you valuing young players and picks in these trades? I mean, because potentially picks could help you get off that Bradley Beal contract, so that could be helpful. But also, I think, are you still trying to compete at the highest level? You know, like are you? I mean, they're not doing that right now anyway. But um, would you rather,
Exactly. Exactly.
trade a star for another star, or would you rather downgrade, get some depth, some picks, stuff like that?
I think as much as I don't know how casual fan Ishbia is if he's talking about keeping these five because I think and I get it's not a casual fan thing but it's kind of this 2K thing. Right? Well, they're all talented. They
Yeah,
must be good together.
right.
That's not exactly how basketball works. Just a lot of pieces. It's more complicated than that. And so I don't know if even trading Kevin Durant, if Beal and Booker are your championship group to bring together, they might be. I'm not saying they're not. But so to answer your question, I think for a team that is literally in the desert, but also in the desert of draft picks, I think to get a few first rounders would certainly be nice. And Booker is still relatively young.
Yeah.
You have
Unless anyone has any other thoughts on the Pelicans deal, let's,
Yeah.
let's do another.
I should do another. All right. This will be a fun reunion. I think this one will be interesting. The Golden State Warriors. The Warriors completely flunked out of the playoffs, lost in the play-in. They got embarrassed in the play-in to the Kings. So obviously we know about I would call the greatest team in NBA history when Kevin Durant played on the Golden State Warriors. So this would be an interesting reunion. The package would be or potential package would be Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, Pods, and a first round and a second round. A little bit of draft replenishment just in case. Pods is a young player, super sexy contract. I think he'd be a great fit to have as a point guard, playmaker, can knock down shots at the same time, unselfish. Yeah, Draymond as a defender, something they could desperately use. A very vocal guy. He can move the ball. He could pretty much bring what he's brought to the Warriors in their dynasty to the Suns. And I think he'd be a huge piece. And then Andrew Wiggins, I don't know what's going to happen there. He could be just awesome. He could just have a great year. He could just be a solid role player, or he could kind of suck. I don't know,
Yeah.
but he could be an intriguing piece.
I think if I'm there's two issues with this. I think if I'm the Suns, I probably want another first. And also Draymond Green and Houston Nurkic being on the same team could be problematic. But
I know. I thought about that.
yeah. But just in general, I like the trade. Draymond is like exactly what they need in terms of a guy that brings energy, can play
True.
some small ball five. He is arguably the best defender of the decade. And he's not the same defender, but he's still really good. Um, and then Andrew Wiggins, like you said, a good 3 and D guy. You get some youth, some youth. That is something that's pretty foreign to the Suns right now. And Brandon Pajemski. And he could start realistically. I mean, I guess you still have Booker and Beal, but he could play big minutes for them, which I think would be pretty valuable. I like the deal. Yeah, I would probably want another first if I'm the Suns, just because they're so depleted. For the Warriors, though, it's tricky. I mean, that's an old team. I guess you get
Let
to
me
keep
run you through
Kaminga.
it.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Let me run you through it because I think this would be so fun for the. I think it'd just be a fun trade. I don't like the Warriors. I don't like Kevin Durant, but
Mhm.
I like. I'm a fan of this trade. And I think it would make them legit, give them a good chance. You have Steph Curry and Chris Paul on the same team with Kaminga, with Gary Payton, Moses Moody, Kevin Durant, and Kevon Looney. And I mean, I think it would be really fun to have three of
Clay.
these all-time greats in Chris Paul, Steph Curry, KD all together on this final run, right? And I think just I talked about how Chris Paul might be a really good fit for the Warriors, and they definitely underperform, but I don't think you can go wrong with Chris Paul, Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant. I don't really think your floor. I mean, they're old, so maybe injuries, but if they're healthy, I think your floor is going to be higher than the Suns floor was, just because those are all guys that are a little bit more willing to pass. Chris Paul is and Kevin Durant are both pretty strong defenders, and they get to keep what's his name, Kaminga.
Yeah.
That's a huge dub. So give him another first round, like you said, if you need to. Maybe take out that second round, maybe. And I think this would be a really attractive deal.
I mean, yeah, because if you're the Warriors, you get Kevin Durant and you get to keep Kaminga. I don't see why you wouldn't do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Warriors must do this. I think for the Suns, it's a little more complicated. I like it, but I do think it's a little bit more. You have to kind of, for one, buy into the pieces and the picks, and yeah, you have to kind of understand. You're not really getting like a super sexy like star power, but I do like the fits a lot. I think Draymond Green is exactly what they need. I think Wiggins could honestly be interesting there. Pod's a great fit,
Yeah.
young player, and then you get those picks. I think another first round to your point would probably be good.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting trade. Another thing, Pajemski and Draymond even too, very passionate too about the game. Just like you guys said, energizers too. I think they can help. And we've seen too, right? They're also the kind of players that they don't need to score the ball. I mean, Draymond for surely doesn't need to. Pods can definitely hit buckets too. So they can be there for that backup kind of like scoring if they need it too. But they don't need to be those guys to get the ball, shoot the ball. They're totally okay playing defense, doing little things, passing the ball, rebounding the ball, playing defense.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know if they'll have an all-star duo on that Suns team, but I definitely think their all-star trash talking duo will be fun with Draymond and Booker on the same team. They would get that would be some, especially in a playoff series. Imagine going up against that Suns squad with Draymond and Devin Booker on the same team and the kind of trash they're talking.
I think, but the number one thing we have to ask with this trade, are they a better team replacing Draymond or replacing Kevin Durant with Draymond, Wiggins, Pajemski? Are they better, you think?
I 100% believe so because again, like I said, you can take a talented roster. I don't think they're more talented from that trade. They're probably less. I would say they're definitely less talented after that trade.
Yeah.
But as far as how basketball in the NBA works, as far as for one draft picks, you're getting those. And as far as fits, you're getting something that you need to have with Bradley Beal and Booker. You're getting a true playmaking point guard that can also space the floor. You're getting a young guy that you can re-sign. He's only getting better. You're getting Draymond Green, defense, voice, playmaking, passion. Like you said, small ball five. That's what I'm saying. I feel like this will be something that the Suns have to. It's almost a switch on its head from going into the super team theorem or theory into a kind of reversing it, and you're actually selling out a little bit on the talent, but you're going for better fit
Okay.
in the future.
All right. Any other thoughts on that trade? Okay. Let's move on to your final one, Lauren.
All right, baby. OKC Thunder boys, where you at? Holla at me. All right.
I'm not gonna holler
Another
back.
reunion. He
No.
could reunite with the Warriors or he could reunite with OKC. Now this one would be fun. So this just on like a surface level, it I think it makes a lot of sense. We don't know where OKC is going quite yet. They could go. We don't know yet. They're playing right now. They look great. They swept the Pelicans in the first round as of this recording. But if they got obviously a superstar in Kevin Durant, you're probably gonna get quite a bit better. And I think he also fits as far as what they need. What do they not have? Um, well, they do have one great wing and J-Dub, but why not give him another in Kevin Durant?
Yeah.
SGA, J-Dub, Kevin Durant, Chet, sign a center or draft a center. You were talking
And
about a deadly team, and not to mention, guys,
Dort.
yeah, Dort. Yeah, I mean,
Iggy?
what are we talking about here? This sounds like a pretty scary lineup if we're talking OKC. Not to mention, oh, Kevin Durant is a snake. Don't get it twisted, but this will give him a chance to kind of make things right a little bit, especially if he wins a chip there. If they win a chip with Kevin Durant on that team, think about the narrative change for Kevin Durant in his career. Yes, he still went to the Warriors and he went to the Nets and the Suns and all that, but just think about that narrative change. I think it would be so fun, super interesting. And also, let's go back to the Suns now. What do they need again? Young guys and draft picks. What do the OKC Thunder have? They only have that young guys and draft picks. So potential package. I think there's so much flexibility. This could look so many different ways. One option is Josh Giddey, Kenrick Williams, Isaiah Joe, and 5 first round draft picks.
Not
It's a lot
Isaiah
of
Joe.
draft picks. It could be less. OKC doesn't really care because they're so loaded on draft picks. Um, I just think that the Suns would have to kind of accept this. There's only 2 years left on KD's deal, still plenty of time. And I mean, if you get Joe, another defensive wing, he can shoot the ball, great for them. Cheap contract. Kenrick Williams. I mean, all these guys have cheap contract. Kenrick Williams, energizer, can shoot the ball, a little bit of everything. I think he'd be a great fit on that team. And then Josh Giddey, what does he do? He's a playmaker. I think that would be something they could potentially use a lot, and another young guy. So this
I,
could be a very interesting trade.
I think it's amazing for OKC actually because what they need and they just did great right in the first round of playoffs, but they need a veteran who is experienced in the KD experienced enough. He won a championship now, and he's a veteran. You got all three right there, from Kevin Durant and an amazing scorer on the team added with Shea is just so dangerous.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant, known to be possibly the greatest like scorer, right? 6'11", can really do everything. I think they would be bound to go to the championship.
Yeah, I think I'd be curious too, because obviously I was kind of joking, obviously like I can't lose Joe, but obviously if you get traded, but I was looking at the roster too. I wouldn't be surprised if I feel like an Usman Jeng would be really nice for the Suns.
Yeah.
Very tall, lengthy guy, uh, can shoot the ball pretty well, more defensive minded. I love him too. I'd definitely be down to keep him, but I feel like he
He
would
just
almost
won
be more
the G
helpful
League
than
Finals
Joe
MVP.
would be.
Yeah. So I think if you're Oklahoma City, you got to see where this offseason goes. If they get eliminated by Dallas or the Clippers in the next round, I think this is something you look at. Um, like, gosh, we'd be so freaking good, dude. You know, like it'd be so
Presty,
fun.
pull the final trigger. Presty, pull that trigger to get you a chip.
Yeah. But I mean, like if we go to the conference finals, if we go to the finals, I think you should just not if it ain't broke, don't fix it type thing. But and losing Isaiah Joe sucks. He's not Kevin Durant. I'm not saying that, but he's pretty darn close. No, I'm joking.
He's definitely right there.
Yeah, it breaks my heart because he's he's an example of the Thunder success story. Underrated guy, second round pick. didn't get minutes in his first destination then.
Yeah, it's true.
But that's kind of the guy that Phoenix as well needs. We're getting back to Phoenix. I was talking too much about OKC, but getting back to Phoenix here. Um, guys like I mean Giddy. I mean he's been booed a lot. But Giddy, Joe, Kenrich Williams. These are guys that have had to earn it. That play pretty high level defense. Giddy's defense in the playoffs was pretty impressive, or has been pretty impressive. And I think they just bring a different pace to the Suns roster than all the other guys. And then you're also getting the 5 first round picks. Um, you probably want to avoid getting all of OKC's picks. You probably want all the other picks that they have, just because if you're putting Kevin Durant on that roster, they're going to be pretty darn good. So,
Yeah, I'll tell you who they're
and
from if you really want to.
I mean they have some Rockets picks, they have some Clippers picks, which are looking kind of juicy. But yeah, you're replenishing your drafted picks, or your stash of picks. You're you're replenishing the youth on that roster. But like Martin said, I think I want like another guy, like I said, or like Usman Jang, maybe even like a Keontae Johnson, just to get a little bit more, just because Josh Giddey, Isaiah Joe, and Kenrich Williams, they're not going to just make up for the contribution of Kevin Durant. And if they want to keep competing, they're going to want some more.
Yeah, you're probably not competing for a chip with that roster. I have
Yeah.
no
Speaking
argument
on
for that, but you're getting 5 first-round draft picks. I think that's the big takeaway from that deal. If you were to
Mhm.
pursue that deal, and I think that's a lot. We're getting 3 young, talented guys that fit your needs, alongside a Devin Booker type of player who'll probably be there longer. Deal might have just a short stay. So I think that's really where this becomes an enticing deal for on the Sun side, right? To really build, like, you're going all in on your future, and I don't think it's that long term build. Bradley Beal's contract is 2 more years. Um, and even without that, like, they can probably start signing decent free agents again, right? After
Yeah.
get rid of the Durant contract, depending on how much they want to go over the tax again. I think it puts you in a really good spot. Now, if you really want to, if you want to push those buttons, if you're willing to pay that tax money, and definitely for the future.
Mhm.
And also just on that Thunder deal, like, I think the only reason why you wouldn't like be enticed by this deal as Thunder, I think you have to make the finals this year. Even if you make the Western Conference Finals, you're still missing something. Because I just think if right now they have one superstar, but I think they have 2 superstars, 2 guys that can close a game that you don't know what you're going to do against. And I love J-Dub, and he's supposed to be kind of that guy next up. But I know him. This is why I love him. He just doesn't. He's not built like that. He's built to be a Swiss Army knife kind of guy. He's not going to be that guy that will get you the last. He's not willing to get you consistently the last 10 points of the game in the last 5 minutes. Kevin Durant, SGA will do that for you. J will be happy right there getting that game-winning assist or scoring that clutch three, but he's not going to consistently get you buckets just like that. But I think if you pair him and Kevin Durant, I think he's just the perfect fit. I don't know what you're going to do against that team because they're going to give you 3 quarters of just tough grind out basketball on both ends. And in the fourth quarter, if you happen to be up by 6, watch out, man. Watch out. These guys are gonna get tough buckets.
Hmm. Well, the nice thing too is, I mean, Shea not necessarily. I mean, I'm sure he'd love to still take that buzzer beater shot, but we've seen multiple times too, with 5 minutes left in the game, down 5, 10 points. He's not looking for the shot every time too. He'll give it to J-Dub. He'll give it to Holmgren. He'll
Sure.
give it to his other teammates to score that bucket too, because he knows they're gonna throw all their defense on him, so someone else is gonna have a better shot. And then with KD, obviously he can make shots at a really good clip, so that'd just be so much
Yeah.
nicer.
I mean, if we're talking strictly basketball fit, it works perfectly.
Hmm.
But I kind of disagree with you on the conference finals point. Like, if they make the conference finals and they're like competitive with Denver, they're still like the second youngest team in the league. So I think
Hey,
they
who
have
said?
every
Wait, whoa.
justification.
Who said Denver's
Let
going
me
there?
rephrase. Let me rephrase it. If they're
Let's do
competitive with Denver, I agree with you. But I'm not
Yeah.
anticipating them being competitive with Denver.
I was about to say, I think it depends on how they lose. Like
It depends on
what
how they lose.
causes
If you
them.
can play with Denver, you're there. You've made it, okay? Like again, the Lakers, they lost first round. That sucks. They lost in five. They were competing with Denver. They're right there. That might as well have been a final series. Like
Yeah.
I know that's like a crazy statement, but I mean it's true.
And we'll see how Minnesota and
Uh,
Denver
Yeah,
goes.
I think
I
it'll be good.
was I was disrespectful to the team that beat the Suns. Right there. They could very well beat Denver.
I think they're built great.
Yeah,
Even
speaking
they're
better than the
built.
on
Suns.
speaking on Usman Jang, I think if he stayed, I I see him as a Kevin Durant. His play style, I think, is very similar to Kevin Durant, right? He's a lengthy,
Yeah.
likes to shoot the ball, kind of takes over, and we've seen his potential in the summer league. He won the MVP in the G League,
Hmm.
right? He's amazing. I
Yeah.
think him under Kevin Durant, he could learn so much more, and I think that'd just be amazing. That would be
Yeah.
amazing for OKC in the future too, having Usman Jang under him and then take that role.
Yeah. And I mean that's a perfect example. But also, if you're the Suns and you want Usman Jang and you get Usman Jang, he's been buried in that Thunder depth chart. I still think he's a really good young player. So if you get to unearth him, and I don't think he's going to be Kevin Durant, like the greatest player of all time, but he has a very similar skill set. I just said the greatest player of all time. I meant one of the greatest players of all time, just to be clear. Um,
Yeah, I got you.
yeah,
Yeah, I want to. I know you have some more trades, but just one more thing. Wouldn't it be a great way to kickstart a Thunder potential dynasty with letting Kevin Durant take them there that first time around, especially because of Kevin Durant's backstory, but also just the talent. It would be a great way to just kickstart that. He's 35. He'll be out of there soon, but he might be the guy that can give them that first chip or two, and then they just keep running from there. But
yeah.
anyway, I think we have some more Suns trades.
All right. I'm gonna go through these two trades pretty quickly. And one of them is a Devin Booker trade, which I don't see happening. But there have been rumors. Stephen A. Smith was the source, so I don't know how reliable they are. But
Likes talking.
we'll see. Yeah. So the first one is a Kevin Durant trade, though. I'm sending him to the Grizzlies. And this was more of an eye to like what the Suns should do. This isn't really like taking it from the Grizzlies. I still think the Grizzlies could be interested. So this is Marcus Smart, Luke Kennard, Brandon Clark, Gigi Jackson, and three first round picks for Kevin Durant. It's a
That's a
haul.
package.
Yeah. So if you're the Suns, you're getting the defender, you're getting the heart of your team, and it's Marcus Smart. Luke Kennard, solid shooter. Brandon Clark, good backup five. I think he could get back to the level he was pre-injury. And then Gigi Jackson, he flashed a ton.
Oh yeah, yeah, he did. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
And with Clark, I mean, he did great off his injury. I mean, obviously they were only trying so hard anyways, and I'm sure they probably told him, "Hey, we'd rather you be safe. Don't go too hard." And he did great. But definitely, I think he'd be a really good. I mean, he's been a good backup five. He's pretty mobile too, so he can guard out on the wing as well. But that's definitely something you'd want to think about if you're the Suns, that trade. I mean, that sounds really good.
Yeah. Um, and yeah, if you're the Grizzlies, now you got John Morant, Desmond Bain, Kevin Durant, GG or Jaren Jackson.
Jaren, and then
Um, and then I don't
yeah,
know,
have
maybe you get
Adams.
a Donovan Flingen in the drafts or something. I don't
That's
know.
true.
But uh Zach Edey,
No, he did just. I heard rumors it could even potentially be the first pick now. That's what I've
which
heard.
is crazy.
I don't know
But
if I'm sold on that, but that'd be crazy.
yeah, that would be weird.
That is crazy. But as far as the trade, no, I think there's no doubt that the Suns should accept that or do that trade in a heartbeat. The question is, on like realistically, why would the Grizzlies do that?
I mean, like screw it, just go for it. The West is going to be like how sure are you that a core of John Morant, Desmond Bain, and Jaren Jackson can win you a championship?
Oh, that's actually a great point.
Yeah.
That for one, is actually a great point. But two, I mean, they do have a great, super bright future, especially with the draft picks they have and how young they still are.
Hmm.
That combination is pretty promising. I mean, you make a good point, but what would their lineup be? So you have John Morant, Desmond Bain, Kevin Durant.
Yeah,
JJJ
Durant.
as power forward.
Yeah, and then you would hopefully get a center in free agency or through the draft. I mean, drafting a center through the draft is always kind of a
Or well,
crap.
they could too. What they could do, even though I mean we've seen Jaren's not the best center, but Vince Williams was really good too. If you play him at small forward,
That's true.
Durant at power forward. I'm
Yeah, I
not
mean the
sure how
rebounding would be
successful
an
they'll
issue.
be, especially in the rebounding game.
Yeah,
But as of what they have right now, that would be potential starting lineup, in my opinion.
yeah. All right, let me move on to the Booker trade. This is probably my favorite trade just because like if you're Phoenix, this is the ultimate do-over. It's Booker to the Nets. It's not the New York that Stephen A was talking about, but still New York. Um, so this is Ben Simmons and his big old contract. Cam Thomas, Noah Clowney. So you're getting, good youth pieces. All of Phoenix's first round picks that they gave to the Nets for Kevin Durant, which is three. You're going to throw in another Dallas first round pick in there that they got from the Kyrie trade, and that's for D-Book. It's a haul, but like I said, the Suns have some reason to trade Book, but Book is young. He's under contract for the next like 4 years. Um,
I
so
think
I think this is a pretty good package. If
I
you're
think Lauren's question that he asked for the Grizzlies is even more relevant to the Nets. Why would they do that?
the Nets,
Yeah.
don't worry about it. Just focus on the Suns.
No, but
Especially how much they're giving up. It's not like they're loaded on picks. They're about to lose all their picks, and they lose their future star in Cam Thomas, who's pretty
But
much
you're
just
getting
Devin
Book.
Booker. Yeah, but they lose him and all their picks. Like they're pretty much just
and a
getting
young
back
guy
Cam
in
Thomas
Clowney too.
on more money
Yeah.
and
Well,
without all their picks and some of their young guys that just drafted, and they're not definitely not competing next season. That's for sure.
so here's the thing. Think of the Nets front office. When is the last time they made like a really good decision?
That's
You know?
not going to be one of them. But why would they?
So it follows the track record. You know what I mean?
You know what they
Why
normally
would
do? They always
you
get like
should at
this
least
close to
have
making an
hopeful
all-star
thoughts for
decision, and
them?
then they just do something stupid after.
Yeah.
Guys, y'all just heard Deacon's trade thing. It just went from boom, it just went straight down to
Yeah. But in terms, if you're Phoenix, I think if you're trading Booker, this is the deal. Just get your picks back. Because you're probably not going to send him to the Wizards to get those picks back. But yeah. So this would be interesting. You reunite him with McHale and Cam Johnson. So,
That's true. That's true.
yeah.
That's kind of funny.
All right.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean, interesting.
yeah. Unless does anyone have anything else to add? I think Frank Vogel, he may get fired, which is
Not against that.
interesting. I've been pretty critical of his offense, and so is Kevin Durant apparently. Um, but
Yeah,
I do
it's
think
always
also like
critical
Willie
after he
Green,
loses.
he's been dealt a pretty bad hand. This roster does not fit. And when he asked for a point guard, the front office said no, which is pretty bizarre. Um, so yeah, I think a new coach could be beneficial in terms of just like getting the mojo up, because it's pretty down right now, but we'll see.
it just sucks, man. They went from Monty Williams to this. They just can't get a coach.
Well, Monty Williams is a pretty good coach, but we could argue about that later. Anyway, so
Oh,
he's not now. He was then, but we're not going to get into that. So, leave a like, subscribe, let us know how ridiculous Lawrence trades were in the comments, and we'll see y'all later.
Y'all want to know a cool story that happened yesterday?
Well, we have 2 minutes, so do we want to just start one real quick and talk
yes,
right after?
yes.
My story's gonna take 2 minutes.
All right, do it.
So I go to this like mental health strengthening thingy for free for my
Therapy?
youth thing. Uh, and the lady that does it, she has two cousins in the NBA, and one of them is Gigi Jackson.
You
Yeah.
should
That's
tell her
cool.
to tell him to come down here.
Yeah, tell me him on the podcast, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have guest
Dude,
star
for
Gigi
real.
Jackson.
Gregory Jackson the second. That'd be cool.
Well, her other son or cousin, she said plays for the Knicks. I don't know who it is. She never said who it was.
Sure.
It's probably
Jackson
Ryan
on the Knicks.
Archidakano.
Yeah. He's not. He's on the Pistons now, by the
You know
way.
the
Oh, that's
Pistons.
true. He got traded. He was one of
You're
the
right.
youth.
Yeah. And the Knicks.
Jalen Brunson.
Yeah.
Probably.
Mitchell Robin. Oh, Achua.